Hello, and welcome to the Lipstick Panel, the weekly ranking show where we, the members of Lipstick, rank stuff on the internet, because that's apparently popular these days. I'm Greg, I'm the lead singer from Lipstick.
I'm Steve, I'm the bassist from Lipstick.
I'm Jake, I'm the brand new guitarist of Lipstick.
That's right, we've got a guitarist now, woohoo!
Woo!
And our special guests this week are fans of Megadeth, the greatest metal band on the face of the planet, and also have a podcast called Ultima Final Fantasy. They're pretty cool dudes. We've got Joseph DeGolyer and Kaleb Schweiss with us. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Whoa. I never said greatest.
Second greatest. Let's be clear. They're just more fun to...
I said greatest. That is my opinion.
Okay.
I accept it. It's wrong, but I accept it.
Of course, if Dave Mustaine hears this, he hates being number two, as we all know.
Especially to a particular number one.
Yeah, because it's not like there's thousands of metal bands and he's number two or anything. Yeah. Whatever.
Weak.
Whatever. All right.
I think Final Fantasy II soundtrack is great.
It's all right.
Speaking of Final Fantasy II soundtrack, that's what we're here to talk about today. The Final Fantasy II soundtrack. We are ranking all of the songs on the FF2 soundtrack. We're basing it off the remastered version. The reason we're doing the remastered version is largely selfish on my end, because I love the remastered version. The guy who did the new tracks for the remaster is the same guy who did the soundtrack for Brave Fencer Musashi, which in my opinion is one of the most underrated video game soundtracks ever. And when I heard this soundtrack, I thought to myself, this sounds a lot like the Brave Fencer Musashi guy. And then it turns out I was right. There's a lot of really cool stuff on this soundtrack. I love this game. This is one of my favorite Final Fantasies, easily my favorite of the original trilogy. So let's go around and get everyone's experience with FF2. Let's start with our esteemed guests.
Yeah. So we do a Final Fantasy podcast where we go through each of the Final Fantasy games. We kind of started the show on a whim, but now we're almost 4 years into it. Yeah. And when we hit Final Fantasy II, I think we both played it for the first time for the show. And we got I think we both have mixed opinions on it, the game itself. But it'll be interesting to talk about the soundtrack.
Yeah, the game is kind of ahead of its time in a lot of ways, but not really a master of the things that it's ahead of its time in. But I honestly, going back through the soundtrack, I remember a fair amount of these songs, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, it is.
And I also remember someone telling me one day, it was like, I think I was watching somebody stream something, and they're like, "Oh, FF8's soundtrack was my favorite," and I scoffed, and I scoffed again, thinking back to that while listening to FF2s. I'm like, "No, you're crazy. Have you?" But so yeah, I had a lot of fun taking a trip back. What is that, like three and a half years?
Yeah.
To the last time I played this game, and I kind of feel bad because there was a time where I got kind of tired of the battle music when I was grinding out my my hit points and stuff, because the game is kind of broken in a way, and you can kind of cheat it. And so I did, and
so you listened to that track for hours.
I did, and then I turned on some Wagner and listened to that for a while too, and that was pretty compelling. I was like, yes,
yeah,
I want to destroy everything. Everything but the master party of 4 people that I command. So
you were listening to Wagner and decided that it was really important to just wipe out these entire species of monsters from the fantasy world, huh?
Oof, this is getting somewhere
I will say
else.
I was compelled. I
would like to point out that we're recording this particular episode. What is it? One day after Holocaust Memorial Day?
Wait,
as the only Jew-ish member of the panel, I'll say I'm uncomfortable.
This is
Wagner wasn't.
Wait, I don't get it. What are we talking about? Holocaust?
Talking about a great German artist.
Yeah.
So speaking of transition statements, Joe, how about you?
I played it with Schweiss. I kind of hate the battle music because I played it over and over again, so I'm sorry if that pulled down the rankings for people, but I mean, the game for me is it's okay. I guess out of the first 3, I can understand your opinion that it's the best of the 3. I think I ranked it above the other 2 as well. But,
yeah, I did too. It still felt like a sting when you said that, but then I was like, wait, no. Because it's got other games have better things than it.
Basically on either end, the battle system in 3 is more fun, And the soundtrack in 1, oh, maybe not the soundtrack. The gameplay in 1 is a little bit better because it's normal. It's not the freak thing that 2 is. So it's like, I don't know. But yeah, I think 2 is the better one.
The soundtrack, though, there were some things in here that I had forgotten about, and I was reminded of, and I really appreciated going through it again. I don't know. Let's get into the tracks, though.
Well, I want to get quick feedback from Jake and Steve, listening to this without having played the game, their thoughts on the soundtrack. Jake, newbie, how about you go first?
Well, I never knew Final Fantasy had a pretty good soundtrack until basically today, actually. There's a lot of standouts for me, like the battle scenes at the end were great. There was a harpsichord Bach-type song. I think it was like the Magician's Tower. Tower. That was a good one. Yeah, I mean there's some gems in there I really enjoyed.
And Steve, Peaches, how about you?
Again, there's some decent songs in here. There's some compositions. There's decent music. There's iconic music, and there's me just knowing enough about old school audio technology and computers that I'm a little bit disappointed with all the fancying up they did. You kids these days with your fully recorded, orchestrated music.
Yeah,
back in my day, we had 4 wave generators, and we liked it that way.
And of course, your top song will be the shittiest
shop music. You know it.
I'm ready.
All right, are you guys ready to dig into this ranking?
So ready.
I listened to Shop again too, and it's still at the bottom.
Well, it's not at the bottom of this ranking. Coming in at the very bottom of our ranking of the Final Fantasy II soundtrack, receiving only 1 point, Steve voted the YouTube Red Ad as the worst song from Final Fantasy II, the soundtrack.
The YouTube Red, nice.
I'll never pay.
I will listen to my music interrupted. Thank you very much, Google Incorporated.
Yeah, Steve got really upset when I sent him the soundtrack because of the individual YouTube videos, because there's not just one person who uploaded the entire remastered soundtrack. Right. So you had to go through each video, and Steve got really upset with all the YouTube Red ads.
There were so many of them.
Bro, ad block.
Yeah. Got the finger. You pointed at the man.
That's right.
I believe in a host-based ad blocking. If they're willing to serve their own ads, I shouldn't block them.
Okay.
True, right, so shouldn't. What power is given to you, I mean.
Shouldn't, but the power is granted.
Yeah.
All right, so next up on our ranking, after YouTube Red Ad, coming in near the bottom, but not at the very bottom, Add a Companion.
Add a Companion. Yeah, there's not much there. It's so short that it's hard to be like, oh, let's judge this piece of music. So yeah, I kind of get that it's on the bottom.
Yeah, it's just a little ditty.
It's pretty near the bottom on mine.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything to say about it? Nope. Okay.
I think I didn't even rate this one.
Yeah, you did.
I'd switched to an alternate take of the soundtrack that was all a single file, so there'd be fewer ads, and I guess they left some songs out.
There you go.
But hey, at least you ranked unused shop theme.
Yep.
All right, next, another very short one, Reunion.
Reunion.
Yeah, I remember that one. It's like I don't know. It's just very short, very missable. It doesn't really stand out, basically, in any way.
See, I have written down. I probably ranked it the highest.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I definitely did because it's up in my good stuff. I put romantic sounding little ditty. I hope was longer. Is what I put. I really liked the melody on it, and I just wish it was a longer piece. But whatever. It's short, so I get it. I get that it's low.
I'll say this about the FF2 soundtrack: it's very consistent. All of the songs fit the world very well with that medieval, Middle Ages sort of vibe. It all fits very well for me. And I'll say, as far as world building goes, like when talking about the game, that world is really well developed for a NES game and is more consistent and makes more sense than even stuff like Final Fantasy 4 and 6. Like, that is a really well constructed world and is really impressive in retrospect.
I haven't thought about that. I'll have to think upon that statement for a little while. Think about the different worlds and how they kind of how they fit together in the individual games. That's interesting.
Wrong. No, I kind of got that vibe from this re-listening to the soundtrack as well. It all fits pretty well, and I think that's what makes it memorable. We've mentioned this on our show multiple times. Like, good music is one thing, but good music when it needs to be good music is a completely different thing, and that's what really makes it stand out, makes it powerful. Is like in the moment, if the music kicks on and it's perfect, then you've done your job.
There's like this. There's this thing going now with games nowadays that everything is kind of atmospheric, and you're just supposed to have the mood of whatever you're playing, and not necessarily be able to hear the melodies of the music. Yeah. I kind of like the opposite thing. I mean, this is late '80s stuff, and it's '80s all over the place, so the melody is really strong. And Nobuo Uematsu, the original composer of these tunes on the NES. He always has really strong melodies, and that's what I always appreciate about Nobuo's work. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to game music, I want to enjoy it while I'm listening to the game, but I also want it to be something I can listen to outside of the game for just enjoyment as a music fan, and Uematsu has consistently done that for me.
Yeah,
I don't adore every single track, but there's enough good stuff on each soundtrack that it makes for the, in my opinion, best collection of video game music in any series.
Certainly the most memorable for me.
Yeah.
The word remember or memorable has been said several times in discussing this song. I had forgotten how this song went by the time the ad that played after it finished.
It is really short.
Well, the ad was probably longer.
It's
right.
Probably true.
You could probably recite the contents of the ad.
Listen to YouTube without ads.
And then it just acts like some subliminal message. Kill. Without ads. Kill.
I would have ranked it higher if it had done that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty metal.
Oh, this is awesome. YouTube Red ad number 1.
I love how this YouTube Red ad just keeps playing Manowar songs. It's great. All right, coming in next on our list, we have the opening movie with sound effects.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Yeah.
Grunts, I was like, man, I feel uncomfortable with this. Getting kind of hot in here. Yeah, I like the opening theme. The opening movie track, I think, is pretty good, and it's one of those memorable ones from the game.
I think it's probably the other composer, though.
The sound effects, with the sound effects, yes, this is his version.
Yeah,
right, but he's also he's using a lot of leitmotif from the game. Like, a lot of the themes and melodies are incorporated into that, so I think he does a good job with it.
Yeah, I agree. But you would never listen to a soundtrack on its own if you had just sounds playing at the same time.
Yeah, like the grunts.
Yeah.
That Barrett thing I have.
It's like listening to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. No dialogue, but all they got is like the battle sounds going on at the same time. Yeah. It's like, no one would listen to that.
Yeah, this is.
I don't even know why it's included in the soundtrack.
This is a part of. I'm gonna play this right now. I hope this doesn't fuck your thing up. But this
whatever.
Is part of Dirge of Cerberus with all the music taken out.
I remember this.
Listen to that.
No, Mom, I'm just listening to some video game music in here.
Don't worry.
Mom, I'm just playing Final Fantasy X too.
Yeah.
The massage. It's just a massage.
It's a massage.
I swear it's just a massage.
As the guy who goes through old video game soundtracks and pulls out those sounds specifically to put in my sample library for recording original music, no comment. I am saying that I have a whole set of Diablo noises that are just people going whoa and grunting.
Oh, yeah.
And also moo.
Imagine being a voice actor. Oh. You just kind of you're done. What do you mean done?
Just grunt. You need a grunt for the next 20 minutes.
So, for reference for the audience at home, we're ranking the CD soundtrack of Final Fantasy II, which includes the opening movie with the sound effects as one of the songs to listen to.
Now, when you say CD,
Like, it was released on compact disc for sale, like as an audio CD?
the joke was it's a homophone with CD as in kind of unsightly and dubious.
Ah.
But our drummer's not here, so I have to do the rim shots manually.
Right.
Labors of the rhythm section.
Coming up next on our list, the Imperial Army theme.
Yeah, I listened to this one after I listened to the Rebel theme, and I just wrote down, no wonder these guys lost. Their theme song isn't nearly as cool. It does kind of fit, but it's not nearly as like energetic and upbeat as the Rebel theme.
So the Imperials are supposed to be the bad guys, but what drove me nuts about this theme, it's not horrible, but it is kind of goofy and like Middle Eastern sounding. Doesn't exactly strike fear in my heart, like when I'm running around. So yeah, it was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is one of the ones where I would mute the soundtrack and listen to UFF instead.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, so you guys are better than at least one Uematsu song.
Thank you.
I gave this one some points for the just like really ridiculous sounding flute tone.
That is a common thing in this soundtrack.
Yeah, most of the soundtrack was a lot of pretty bad MIDI sounding instrumentation, but this is the one where like, that's vaguely a flute, but they're not really even trying, so you know what? Good on them.
Coming up next on the ranking, a song that Schweiss is a gigantic fan of, the In theme from Final Fantasy II.
I
having flashbacks, cold sweats, PTSD.
I put in and then in parentheses for the prices. This game charges you more the more wounded you are. So, I mean, I guess that's bullshit. You're just trying to take a nap, get a nice night's rest. But the guy looks at you and he's like, well, "You're gonna bleed through the sheets. You're gonna cause problems.
Gotta pay extra.
You're paying for a bed."
I was gonna say, the more blood you're covered in when you come into my inn, the more I'm charging you for cleanup afterwards.
Yeah, I guess it's the same as like getting really drunk and just you puked, so they kind of get mad and charge you more money. I guess that's kind of what happened.
Don't throw up or bleed in your Uber.
Yeah, but yeah, no, the inn's horrifying in this game. They almost break you. They almost make it to where you can't win because that's the only place to heal. And it's like if you don't have enough money, man, they turn you away.
Yeah, you're screwed. I just put it's short. It works. Whatever.
Capitalism.
Sounds like an inn.
Yeah, it's a solid piece of music. I enjoyed it. It's fine. It's not the best in theme in the series. It's not the worst. It's just like, yeah, it's all right. Solid. I didn't have the PTSD with the inn that you guys did because I always made sure that I would have someone with a lot of MP to heal everyone before going to the inn and then just use the inn to recharge my MP.
I mean, mana doesn't leak on the sheets.
Yeah, it doesn't.
This is an entirely internally consistent economic system. Good for them.
Yeah, that sounds really gross, mana.
Yeah, mana doesn't leak on the sheets, baby.
Your mana is leaking out.
I don't even know what it means.
Excuse me. Your MP is all over the sheets.
Oh boy.
All right, coming up next on our list, the Emperor Revives.
So I put not usual for Uematsu to just do something more atmospheric like this. 'Cause to me, it wasn't very melodic like his work usually is. And I'm more interested in melody, but I mean, I thought it was fine. It works. But
I probably ranked it the highest. I put it as number 13 because it kind of sets. I wrote it sets a feeling of uneasiness, which is pretty fitting for the Emperor because he's like this weird character that obviously has a twist at the end, and it just kind of sets the tone for this strange situation. And it's just, and I think it's because it's not melodic and it's not what Uematsu normally does. It's like stands out. And I remembered that in the game when it popped up, and it's like, oh, there's something weird with this guy.
Yeah, I put this one at about 8, I think, because for mostly the same reasons. having not played the game, I assume a track called Revived Emperor is the bad guy doing things. And then this track started playing. I was like, yeah, this seems entirely like it matches what this scene looks like in my head.
No, the Emperor's the good guy and the Rebels are the bad guy, actually.
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
No, just think Star Wars. That's what this game is.
Right,
really.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
it truly is.
I ranked this one the lowest just on a musical level. I didn't care for it much. It's not something I could see myself listening to independently of the game. It worked well in the scene, and I love the Emperor. Like, the story of this game and all the characters and events I think are awesome. I had a lot of fun playing FF2. I actually enjoy, controversy. I enjoyed playing FF2 more than I did FF6. So, which I know is not a common opinion, but I've loved the events and hijinks in this game. But yeah, musically, this one's a little bit weaker for me.
Wait, you like 2 more than 6?
I've never gone around to finishing 6. I've played through that game about 5 or 6 times, get to the World of Ruin, and always get bored.
All right, for the people who've never played Final Fantasy, he's wrong.
It's okay to be wrong.
I
but-
understand that is not the opinion of the common person, and I can completely get that. It's a very contrarian opinion, but that's, as far as preference go, 2 kept me more engaged throughout, and 6 meandered a bit too much for me. Basically, after that Moogle fight with the parties of Moogles, the game, never reached that peak again for me.
Oh, wow. I never thought of that as a peak.
No, that's by far my favorite part of that game.
Really? A Moogle fight? You don't think that's the peak?
No,
I
not
think the
in
end boss
6.
is the peak. It's awesome, but
I think that's the only one I've actually played extensively. That's the one where you start off in the mechs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, one of the
it's
greatest
super-
games of
and
all
it's-
time.
And it's
Yeah.
super iconic. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, it's good. I just don't enjoy it as much as certain other entries. I'm not going to say it's bad. I don't think the franchise has a game that I think is truly bad, at least that I've played. Well, except Revenant Wings, but
Look, what he's saying is that he knows that Godfather is okay, but he's really into the Nutty Professor.
not necessarily. It's I would say it's more The Godfather is okay, but I'm really into Cobra because of how ridiculous and awesome that movie is.
All right, that might be a better one.
Hey,
I fully acknowledge this is objectively not better, but I'm having a lot more fun.
All right, I'll respect it.
All right, coming up next on our list, Revivification.
Oh yeah, the Christmas music. This was the one I ranked lowest of the songs that were actually in the soundtrack that I listened to. So that probably puts it about 6 from the bottom with the way things turned out. But yeah, this one was pretty bad, I thought.
Pretty bad, huh?
Yeah.
I liked it no, it looks like Jake liked this the most out of anyone on the panel. Jake rated this the highest.
What track was that one?
That was
That was the one that was Christmas music.
the do 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 do. Not the prelude, but just the very mystical sounding kind of ambient.
Yeah.
Get that videos in there.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot musically, but also it reminds me a lot of something from Brave Fencer Musashi. So I really recognized where that guy's arrangement entered into the equation. So I dug it. I thought it was a fun piece, and it fit the mood very well.
That was alright. I put peaceful, dreamy, calm, a bit repetitive, but that's okay. That was my note.
yeah, I wrote fitting but not memorable. So, fuck it.
All right, next up on the list we have the Waltz. It's a waltz.
Sounds like Waltz.
Yeah,
Yep.
I like waltzes. I like 3-4. I ranked it pretty high. Panel ranked it right about here. I don't know if there's that much more to say to it. It's a waltz.
Panel was all like, "Yep, that's a waltz."
Yeah. I put a bit too brash and staccato for my taste, but it's fine. It's a waltz.
Ooh,
Whatever.
Who's got opinions on how waltzes should go?
I don't know. The way the instrumentation was in the track, I just wasn't digging, but, it is what it is, and I don't think it's used very much in the game, so
No.
not gonna...
You don't go to a ton of waltzes?
Surprising.
No.
There are some dance scenes in the game, though. I remember multiple dance scenes.
There are dancing
So
girls.
more than you would think with the joke, but not all the time.
All right, next up on the list, Battle Scene B. So this is the more mystic, ambient one, the one that's not as high energy, but with what I think like heavy flute going on in this one. I dug this a lot, but also, once again, this reminds me of a song from Brave Fencer Musashi, like one of the dungeon themes in that game. I think the secondary composer that they brought in for the new tracks has a really good sense of melody and adds something fun and unique to this soundtrack. I really dug this song when I came across it the first time.
It reminds me of like a 60s sci-fi score. Just a little bit. And I wasn't digging the sitar, but the rest is pretty creepy and cool.
That's what I liked about it, was the sitar.
I love
Indian
right.
music.
What? The guitar player likes interesting string instruments?
Well, so did the Beatles.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
if it's good enough for the greatest band of all time, it's good enough for the Final Fantasy II soundtrack.
Okay.
Everybody's just like, I disagree with that opinion, but I do not want to have a Beatles fight right now.
And I kind of hate the sound of the sitar, just in general. So I might be the minority there. I don't know.
I'm actually not super big on the sitar either. I think that's one of the things the Beatles overdid, but they're still my favorite band.
Caleb doesn't.
There's a billion people in India, so yes, you're the minority there.
Oh wait, maybe I
It's
do.
that twangy, what you would think is Middle Eastern instrument. It's weird sounding. Come on, Schweiss, you have heard a sitar before.
I think I think I remember from this song. Yeah, I like this one more than A.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't know. It was just different. So I guess the sitar is for me. I suppose. I don't know.
All right, next up on our list, another short song, Escape/Run.
Yeah, I dig Run, dude.
Yeah, I gave this one a pretty high ranking. It's another one that, like, the title seems to match the context of what should be happening in a video game with a song like that.
Yeah, Jake and I both ranked it the lowest. I guess we're just
Yep.
looking at it from a musical level, like, this isn't fun to listen to. Like, that run loop, like, by the fifth time that loop goes through, you're just like, okay, I'm done with this. I just want to get the hell out of this dungeon.
That's what it's supposed to be, man. It's get out.
Encourage you to go fast.
Yeah, so you can stop listening to the
I
song.
almost running.
It's fast, intense, does what it needs to do to raise your heart rate.
Yeah, just musically, not as much of a fan of this one. I think overall, the FF2 soundtrack is not as good as the FF1 soundtrack. I think it's a far superior game in terms of how interesting the story and events are. But in terms of soundtrack, I think 1 is overall stronger, more melodic. Still a good soundtrack, but not quite as good as the first one.
Yeah, it's less classic.
Coming up next on our ranking, boys and girls, the opening theme. Not the opening movie, but the opening theme.
Opening theme. I love the balls on this track. Very good adventure feel. Though, as far as opening themes go, it's a little weaker than some of the other games in the series. It's less hummable, so whatever that means to you guys. But I liked it.
I felt it was just... Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I
Age
kind of...
before beauty.
Thanks. I kind of felt like it was just a sort of mediocre rehash of the opening movie. Like, it was very, very samey sounding, but it just wasn't as good of instrumentation choices.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I dug it a lot, but also because it reminded me of Brave Fencer Musashi. There's a running theme here of these songs reminding me of Brave Fencer Musashi, which, by the way, very underrated game.
I still have yet to fully get what you're saying.
Brave Fencer Musashi?
Brave Fencer Musashi.
Brave Fencer Musashi. It's a Square game. Came with a demo of Final Fantasy VIII back in the day. Kind of an action platformer. Think Kingdom Hearts before Kingdom Hearts. With a very quirky sense of humor. Very fun game with, I think, a really great soundtrack. So a lot of the stuff here reminds me of that game's soundtrack. And this song, I think I enjoyed it a lot with what it brought to the game because the remakes of the game added a lot more story content. And so this opening scene wasn't in the original NES version. It added more stuff with the Emperor and the world building. And I thought it established things pretty well, so I enjoyed it in the context of the game and the scene it was in, but also musically liked it a lot.
All right.
I think it pales in comparison to the opening movie, which is weird, but it does fit. It does kind of give you that sense of adventure, but it's like someone else said, it's like a watered down version of that sense of adventure. It's like, yeah, we'll go, but the ends are gonna bleed us dry. You know that.
Can we stop for second breakfast as we go on this adventure, I guess? I'm a little hungover from last night's adventure.
Yeah.
All right, next up on our list, this is a bona fide Final Fantasy classic, the Chocobo theme.
That is correct. It is a Final Fantasy staple. Was this the first time the Chocobo showed up in the Final Fantasy games?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, then it's great. I don't think it's my favorite Chocobo theme out of all the games. It's a good classic. I would never personally listen to the Chocobo theme itself for fun, but you like it when you're on the bird. It's kind of fun to go through the Chocobos that you ride in the game, which are these big chicken creatures, by the way. Now
That's for the Kiss fans.
Yes, the Kiss fans who are still listening to us after we got into that fight with Gene Simmons on the internet.
Oh, that will be a month ago by the time this comes out.
Right.
Remember
'Cause
that time we got
record
into a
in
fight with Gene
advance.
Simmons?
Now, personally, the other Chocobo themes are a little less bass heavy. There's like a noodling bass guitar synth thing going on in this version of the soundtrack that I don't know. It was a little bit much for me, but otherwise, the Chocobo theme is great.
Yeah, super iconic, but like everyone said, I would never listen to this fucking thing outside of this. Like this one especially, it's just
blasting
like
out of your car.
Yeah.
What the?
with
What is
my
that guy
dark
listening
shades
to?
and like my super tinted windows. Yeah, no, never.
See,
Oh, yeah.
of the songs that made the cut, this was the one that I ranked the highest. I was all about this sort of melodica sound and bouncy and fun. The only thing I disliked about it was that it was short.
Yeah, my beef with this version of the Chocobo theme is that it's only the beginning of the theme that we've come to know and love, and there's a second half where the melody really picks up and takes off. And so this tiny little loop is a good start, but quickly gets annoying. So I rank this one actually the lowest of the panel, and I'm a person who would listen to the Chocobo theme just as driving music, but not this version.
I respect your confidence.
I think we need a dubstep remix of the Chocobo thing.
It's out there. It's out there. I don't even need to look that up. It's out there.
I mean, we gotta have it like a death metal one. One of the other games.
That one is sick.
Yeah,
That one is
13 too.
awesome.
Yeah.
I was like,
ride this Chocobo?
Isn't the original 13 the one with like the sick drum solo?
yeah, it's like like drums. It's like
I just want my Chocobo song to have double bass. That's completely reasonable.
I just want Chocobo theme and rhythm method mashups. That was for the Rush fans who are still listening. all Steve.
Oh, hey, all of your family.
Hey, Dad.
All right, next up on our ranking, the town theme.
Town.
When,
Oh,
do they figure out how to write town music at some point in this series? Because this one was still just this
Yes,
really
they write
somber
exclusive town
bummer
music,
of a
like-
song.
you thought it was a bummer song? I was thinking this is beautiful. You wish your town could deserve this beautiful theme. Obviously, there's no crime. There's nothing wrong. It's just families and love.
There's obviously a lot of crime. There's a tornado that just destroyed most of the towns on the planet.
Well, that's imperialism.
I mean, if you want to convey the idea that you are a calm, idyllic town, you should use more major chords.
This is, once again, I think, a disagreement of what a town sound should be. Steve thinks a town should be very lively, exciting, robust, versus me, I view this as a very bittersweet melodic song, which is what a lot of town themes in JRPGs have, is that bittersweet melodic feel. Lots of minor chords where it's close to being happy, but you're just a little bit sad, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's better than the town theme in 1. This is one of the few times where I think 2's soundtrack outshines the first game's soundtrack.
I did think this one was better than the first one, just because it's closer to that. You can do calm and idyllic. That works for a town theme. It's closer to that, but it's still sad.
So let me ask you, where you Where are you from? What type of town are you in real life from?
A very small one, 1,000 people.
See, now I would assume that you would be like, oh, let's have this beautiful, calm, like, sentimental.
Yeah, because you live in New York. And
peace.
You're like, fuck.
And you're
this.
like, I would assume, like, oh yeah, I'm from a lively, bustling town. That's
Of
so that's
Chicago.
interesting. So that's opposite of what I thought you would say.
See, my baseline of what town music should be is the town theme from King's Quest V.
Okay.
You know, the terribly loud and awful one.
Yeah.
And so what's funny is Steve is from a small town, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I got stabbed when I was 10, so I'm actually hardened from the streets. And Steve is like, oh, I don't like this idyllic, peaceful town theme. And me, the one who actually has a rough upbringing, is like, yeah, this is great.
This is great.
I want
wish
this.
my town was like this.
Right.
Right. Like, I don't know. Small towns like that are... they're not all idyllic. Everybody I went to high school with is on meth and or pregnant now.
Jesus.
Rock and roll.
Wait, and or?
And or.
And or.
Hold on. Were you being stabbed by another 10-year-old?
All right, so that's a long story. The answer is no. I think he was a few years older than me. I think he was like 14.
That's
so
bullying
it was-
there.
But
A
basically,
10-year-old knife fight would be sweet.
I've had multiple knife fights in my lifetime. I've only gotten stabbed once in any of the knife fights I've been in. I didn't use a knife, so I would just fight with my fists, but I've only gotten stabbed once. So, I mean, all in all, I've got a pretty good track record with knife fights.
Oh, you've just officially made it so that Ultima Final Fantasy never visits Chicago.
No, that's
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland. I'm sorry.
Cleveland.
Yeah, Chicago, they just shoot you.
You're right. Versus
Yeah.
Cleveland, they'll be nice enough to stab you.
All right.
Then,
Another C city.
And then
Right.
Cassville,
but I'll tell you this:
they'll just, sell you meth.
I moved to Nashville. It's a very pleasant city. It's very clean. I've never been stabbed. It's great.
I've only been hit by 2 cars.
Oh my God.
I'm a cyclist, so that's pretty good.
I'm just grateful I live in Provo or Provo, Utah. It's nice, calm, peaceful. Never been stabbed.
Right. Well, in fairness, like Nashville has a low crime rate and is a very great city. I love it. I'm so glad that I moved here. Cleveland, Ohio is a hellish nightmare of a city, and I don't recommend going there if you don't have to.
Isn't Provo the city that last year the Wisconsin football team showed up and drank all your liquor?
That I've never heard
no
of that.
clue.
Yeah. No idea.
We got a lot of liquor though, so I mean that'd be pretty impressive.
A lot of liquor that's not drank.
Yeah, that's not great.
There was the one town in Utah that Madison went to play there, and they were like, "Are we gonna drink all the liquor in this town? They only have 2 bars."
It might have, yeah.
Oh my God, what was the thing with Rage Against the Machine and Spanish Fork?
Spanish Fork is tiny town, and you're like the booked Rage Against the Machine, and they didn't know what it was, and they were like, "Oh my God!" When they found out, they couldn't stop it anymore. Like it was too late.
It's like a mob,
and it was a riot as always. Yeah, and it's this tiny town. It's like this joke town, and like shit. Oh man, and it's like a conservative, like kind of peaceful, like church going
Very
town
conservative,
with Rage Against the Machine.
partially rural.
The kind of city that would have the town theme from Final Fantasy II.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
not bulls on parade with cars being torched.
You know what? If that had been the song that had been going as you entered the town, I'd be much more into that.
Yeah, like, this town is sweet.
Just Furion flips a car, sets it on fire. Deal with it!
Rally around the family with a pocket full of shells.
no order, hell yeah. No, I think why it's so sad in this game is because half of the people are dead. Because when you walk too far in Final Fantasy
Way to
II
bring
in
it
one
down.
direction, you find guys that you really shouldn't be finding, and they just kill you. So everyone's kind of bittersweet because
Because they're living in an RPG town.
Right.
who live are like these hardened, leathery motherfuckers. Like even the shopkeepers, like they've got to be freaks to survive in this world. Like that's why there's only 20 people on the planet. They're all like machines.
My whole family was killed by hobgoblins.
Yeah.
Basically, everyone in this world is Stallone from Cobra.
Everyone is better than you too.
Right.
Better than you. You are the adventurer, but they've had their adventure and they could totally trash you.
You wander in, they're like, why are you only level 3? What's wrong with you? How are you alive?
This game doesn't have levels.
Ooh.
Just level your stats.
Ooh.
True. God,
That's honestly the problem. Yes.
it is. Yeah.
I think if someone was to remake 2 and just fix the leveling system and fix the encounter rate, I think it would be one of the best Final Fantasy games. If you just fix those 2 things, I think otherwise everything else that's set up in it is really great.
Fix the leveling system as in completely change the entire mechanics of the whole game.
Yep.
No, I'm saying make it more balanced. Like,
Well,
don't,
see-
like you don't have to. You can keep that same system, just tweak it a bit where it's just less unreasonable. I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, the Elder Scrolls do the same thing. I mean, when you use weapons, your weapon skill increases for that weapon. Like, you get more strength when they use like that. It's kind of the same thing. They just did it right, and Final Fantasy II did it wrong.
Right. I mean, I ended up going barehanded throughout the full game. I just took off their weapons. Like, screw it, I'm not going to buy weapon upgrades. Everyone's going to be a monk. Deal with it.
That's a good way to go.
All right. What's our next track?
All right. Next up on the list, Dungeon.
Ooh.
I think Joe ranked this the highest.
I did rank it the highest. So I just thought, as dungeon music goes, music for a dungeon in an RPG, thought it was perfect. Perfect, scary dungeon music. And I thought it would work within the context of the game quite well.
Yeah, it made me want to play some Diablo. Like, really start digging in those dungeons.
It made me want to play a better game.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
I think, I ended up ranking it the lowest out of the panel, once again, just on a musical level of how likely I am to listen to it outside of the game. But it did work well when playing the game, and I still do like it. Like, just because I rank it lower doesn't mean I don't like it, it's just I like it less than the other tracks.
It's okay. You can think it sucks. It's fine.
I mean, I don't. I still like it. If I think it sucks, I'll let you know.
All right.
We haven't gotten to the S-Star theme. We've got a few games to go.
Oh, God. That's bottom of the series.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
It's not the 12 soundtrack.
I don't think it's worse.
I don't think there's anything on 12 that's as bad as the S-Star theme.
I mean, I don't think there's anything on 12 I can remember.
That's probably true.
Ooh.
All right,
Scary.
next up on our ranking, Battle Scene A.
Did I call this one Battle Scene 1?
No, there's a Battle Scene 1. These are poorly named
really
on the CD.
confusing.
I thought this was good. I thought it was another cool, energetic fight scene. I dug it. I really enjoyed these new battle scenes they added for the boss battles. I thought it was a lot of fun. Once again, reminds me of Brave Fencer Musashi, which is a great game and great soundtrack, and I highly recommend to everybody. It's it's fantastic. Fantastic. The best.
Hey, what's a game you recommend?
I recommend Tomba 2.
Okay.
I mean, I can recommend other games than Brave Fencer Musashi. It's just the fact...
Can you?
Yeah, I just did.
What's a game you can recommend? Slur your words as much as possible so they can't
I recommend
Make it
Total
no-
number 1. I've never played that. I don't know if it's good.
I put for Battle Scene A, it's a little bit bipolar. I didn't rank it that high, but not that low either. Sometimes it's sinister sounding, and sometimes it's like cocky warrior music. So I don't know. I was kind of back and forth on it.
Yeah, I liked B more, I think. But it does fit. I mean, it definitely felt like oh man, this is not a normal encounter kind of a thing. Which is going to be obvious.
Have we not gotten to unused shop theme yet?
We have not.
Yes!
Somebody.
Your taste has improved since last time we did this.
What is this? I can see Schweiss's ranking, and I can see mine. Oh, it's people on the other end of this call.
Well, you know where I put it.
We know.
Damn it.
We're starting to figure out.
All right. What's next?
All right, next up on the list is the finale.
Finale.
End credit song. It's all right. It's one of the weaker end credit songs for the series, but still, like, for me with Final Fantasy soundtracks, it's like discussing the Beatles catalog, where I love pretty much every song the Beatles ever did. And so with the Final Fantasy catalog, at least the first 10 games, pretty much everything I love with just a couple misses. But for the most part, everything's great. So this is good, but not as great as some of the other tracks. So I still like it quite a bit.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was heroic and hopeful, which is perfect for the end of the game. And it's kind of like reminiscent of the main themes. I thought it was a good, solid finale track, personally.
Yeah, it felt right, as most of these songs and tracks will. And it felt, I don't know, it felt like it was credits time, and it felt like it was time to take a world tour.
That's right.
See, I describe this one as, I don't think it was a reprise of a bunch of forgettable songs from the middle of this game, but I can't guarantee that it wasn't. A lot of this soundtrack really started to flow together for me by about halfway through.
It had little pieces of the other soundtrack. At least it had little parts that sounded like they were. So I think you're right.
Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Next up on our ranking. Because Steve wanted to rank a song that isn't technically on the CD soundtrack or in any version of the game, but it's an unused track on the original NES cartridge. The unused shop theme is next up on our ranking.
What does this put it, like 40% of the way up?
Yeah, it's pretty high up. It's in the, let me see, 1, 2, 3.
The hell is wrong with you?
Shop themes,
Yeah, it's
what's wrong
like
with
16, somewhere there.
Middle?
Yeah, this is middle.
Okay, so someone put it in the middle. 2 people put it at the top, and 2 people put it at the bottom.
Well, we know who has it at the bottom.
I put it in the middle. Jake, our new guitar player, put this towards the top of his list.
Nice work, Jake.
Well, see, it reminded me of like Mario underwater theme from like Super Mario Brothers 3, and I like that stuff, so that's why I liked it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who likes the underwater levels?
No one.
I mean, I like the underwater levels, but I ranked this right in the middle. I think it's not as good as Shop 1. I liked Shop 1 better, but I think I've grown to appreciate the Shop theme hanging out with Steve. The same way that Steve has started to enjoy Kiss hanging out with me, I've started to enjoy the Shop theme hanging out with him.
It's kind of like a shop-themed Stockholm syndrome.
Right.
Oh my god. Steve, do you like the underwater levels of Mario? Because I'm seeing a theme here.
I never actually got to an underwater level.
Oh
I was a
wow.
PC
Okay.
gamer
Well,
as a
I
kid.
bet you'll like it.
I also like to smash my balls whenever. Pain.
Oh,
Only
God.
feel alive.
All right, you guys got to defend this song.
It's for me, I'm a sucker for melody. If there's a melody that I can gravitate towards, I can usually enjoy a piece of music. This one has a good melody I can gravitate towards. And once again, I rank this in the middle. So it's not one of the better songs. It's not one of the weaker songs. It's right in the middle for me. I think it's fine. Good melody. I can enjoy it. You know, that's my defense of it. It's fine.
All right.
Everything I said about it on the last episode still holds. It's just a brilliant piece of music.
Yeah, it sounded
Well,
good.
I wrote something they'd play on a merry-go-round. And,
You don't like carousels, dude?
Why do you hate fun?
Fucking hate
All
merry-go-round.
right, you're playing Final Fantasy 2.
There's nothing fun about a merry-go-round. Nothing.
What about that
Nothing
insane
fun.
Clown Posse song?
Sit there with a bunch of other ugly fat people on these things, annoying kids.
Spin.
And you go around in a circle for 2.5 minutes and listen to horrible music and then leave. That's it. Oh, what's wrong with you people?
I just, oh God.
All right.
All right.
Fine.
That's
Middle road.
You can have it.
hey, that's how the votes ended up, man.
That's insane to me. All right.
All right. Next up on the list. So this was tied with Shop, but because there were a couple lower votes for Shop, that's why Shop ranks below it. So next up is Ancient Castle.
Ancient Castle.
I wasn't a super huge fan of this one. This was one of the ones that started to sound very samey to me. Just a lot of the same ideas they've already been covering, but adding sleigh bell and bongo sounds apropos of nothing.
Yeah. So it's more of an adventure theme than something with the weight of an ancient castle. I put it's fine. It's not horrible, but yeah, Ancient Castle I think something else.
This one got my top 5, man. I thought it was
What?
I thought it was very memorable. I remembered the song the moment it started up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember this thing."
Yeah, I think it's great. I remember it very well with where it was in the game and really enjoyed that because that was with like the Dragoon stuff with Rickard's family and
Yep.
like that was a cool dungeon. It was a cool part, and the music is good to listen to on its own. I dug it.
Wow. Okay. I thought it was middle of the road personally, but I'll take it. All right, you can love it. That's cool.
I mean, it did end up sort of high middle on my ranking, but just based on the aggregate of the votes, that's where it ended up.
Well, Schweiss, it's pretty much in his it's in his top.
You know, Schweiss has good taste.
All right.
Good taste in castles.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can agree on the shop theme so much, and yet this happened, Schweiss.
Betrayal.
Got to have my own shop name.
My shop theme only plays songs from Saint Anger.
Oh God.
Shop theme gets respect.
I bet
Yeah.
Steve loves Singer.
All right. Next up on our list, Dead Music.
Yeah.
Game Over theme.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna check. This is one of those ones that like the name is hard to track between different versions.
I felt like this one was a little livelier than the implied death of your party.
Right?
I thought it was kind of melancholic. It's sort of like a redone version of the hero theme, but like sadder. And I thought it was very pretty. So it may not be like sad enough for the death of your entire party, but I thought it was nice.
Yeah, I agree. This is a pretty good take on taking the earlier themes they'd already been covering and then retooling them a little bit to make them more melancholy. It's a good way to describe it.
I liked it a lot. I didn't mind getting a Game Over when I heard this. I'm like, it's a good song. So
Let it run.
yeah, I'm just like, I can handle this. This is fine.
You know what? I'm glad I died.
I don't even want to live.
Hey guys, this isn't the My Chemical Romance podcast.
Yeah, oh man, that would be bad.
Somebody made that in RPG Maker, I'm
You
sure.
want me to tell you which one's the worst? Can I even discern between them? I can tell you which one made me not want to kill myself. The one on
It's
the
the exact opposite of the intent.
All right, next up on our list, Battle Scene 2. So I think this is a final boss battle.
Okay, Battle Theme 2. I have very high up on my list. Super exciting, and I thought it was like the perfect boss theme, and it was quite scary sounding, and I dug it.
Yeah, I wasn't super into this one. It's as far as the battle themes from this soundtrack goes, it's actually my least favorite. I don't know, I just didn't gravitate towards it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I wrote just listened to it and mostly forgot it already. So, I will say that I had not been I haven't had little to no sleep, so that could be part of it. But the others I did remember. But all of the battle themes do feel like a battle, though. So
Yeah, it fits.
Yeah.
I think I've actually probably listened to this one the most out of anyone on the panel because I think I'm the only one who did the extra missions where you go to heaven and you fight the Emperor simultaneously as the dead characters. So I actually heard this song and did the final boss battle a second time with like Minwoo and Rickard and all those dudes. So I got to experience it in the boss battle twice and still ranked it pretty low.
All right, I respect it.
Put this one pretty in the middle. I think it, did an appropriate job of being epic, but just by the time we reached this point in the soundtrack, I was tired of so much of what was going on.
I'll just say this, the metal Chocobo theme from Final Fantasy 13-2 sounds more like a epic battle song than this one. I'd rather fight to that.
So would I, but biased.
All right, next up on our list, the opening movie without sound effects. Weird how the sound effects made it rank that much lower on this list.
It's funny, I put them right next to each other because I was like, I guess it's lower because there's other sounds. It's still good music. I put a good walkthrough of the main themes to be heard later in the game. Kicks into awesome mode halfway through is what I put.
Oh yeah, the part where Leon is fighting that knight in that part of the music where the brass gets really like focused. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The faux French horns.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of those. I put this pretty high up. This was before I got tired of bad MIDI sounds. I was like, awesome, bad MIDI French horns. Yes.
It's very PS1 sounding, this track. Very PS1 sounding.
Did you listen to the original NES version just for context?
I didn't know.
Well, there's no original NES version of the opening movie. That's not a thing.
Yeah. I mean, in general, the opening movie does use a lot of the themes. Though.
It does.
Yeah. I thought it was a very epic start to the game, and it really gets you in the mood for adventure. So I think it does exactly what it needs to do, and it does it pretty well.
Next up on our ranking, the votes are very, very close with a lot of these. This is only a 1 point difference. But next up is the main theme. So the really melancholy world map themes, like, this is a much more depressing game than the first one. Not a lively adventure. Everyone dies. I thought it really fit the mood of the game well. Just a very melancholy, bleak quest. Thought the melody was really good. I thought the original version, the NES version, Uematsu put some good sound samples to help carry the melody. But I also think the remaster, the stuff that they added, really enhanced the theme. So I think both versions are really great.
I thought this version was a little goofy and a little complex for the official main theme. But I like it. I like the feel when the whole band kicks in.
Yeah, I feel like this is another really fitting one, and it's also one that stuck with me since I played the game. Like, right when it started, I knew exactly what was, like, I could, like, hum it, basically. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember this thing. And I think it works pretty well for the theme of the game. I think, like you said, it's very fitting, and it just works. And I dig it outside of the game, too.
And, as far as main theme world map complexity, I mean, you had the Final Fantasy VII theme, which was like an 8-minute world map theme. So I can handle them adding like another 30 seconds onto the FF2 theme.
Yeah, like that one when the meteor's coming down. It's like that really...
I'm talking about the OG world map theme, like when you first get out there. That track is like 8 minutes before it loops.
Yeah, that's true. I remember it, though. Like... Yeah. Yeah, fuck, they get long, don't they?
Yeah.
Jeez.
All right, next up on our list. So I ranked this by far the lowest of the bunch, but apparently you lads seem to like a lot. Temptation of the Princess.
Hell yeah. Now, I know it's kind of cheating, but because it's not really either of these composers' piece of music. But I really dig the remade Swan Lake dealio.
Yeah, I wrote Jack Nicholson head nod because I remember this part of the game when the princess is like, "Come on in." Oh, it's happening. You drop Trow, and then it turns out she's not really her. So
this was one of the best scenes of the game. This scene was great, and I loved it for just how ridiculous it was, especially for a NES game. Like. Because everyone had the same thought, like, dude, is Farion about to get laid? So,
yeah.
But musically, this one just felt like too much of a Star Wars ripoff for me, and so I didn't dig it on a musical level. The scene is great; it's one of the best scenes in the game, but musically, meh.
It's a Tchaikovsky piece, actually.
Well, yeah, but some of the. What's that? One of the intervals is very Star Wars-esque, but yeah, I know it's Tchaikovsky, so I understand what you're saying, but there's like one little bit in there that's Star Wars.
So this scene is somebody posing as the princess tempting somebody, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I read the title as the princess herself being tempted. I gave it a pretty middling, put it pretty close to the middle because it did some new musical ideas, like the choral ooze were kind of cool. But it just didn't sound like a very exciting temptation. Like, I was just trying to fill in what the plot was like. All right, so the good princess is being tempted by the bad guy to do something, but this is a really boring temptation.
Like, Steve, remember your song Demon Man? It's that.
It's one of my favorite classical pieces, so I guess I'm just like... guess I'm the one out here. I ranked it number 1.
That's fair.
Yeah, you did. I was really shocked when I saw that. Like, really? All right, I'll roll with it.
All right.
Yeah, I dig it, but ain't no number one.
Ain't no number one. All right, next up on the list, a battle scene 1, aka the battle scene from the game that people actually know.
Battle scene 1.
Random
yeah,
battle song.
I like it, but I ranked it kind of low because I guess who ranked it the lowest?
You did.
I did. Okay, that's what I figured. I ranked it kind of low because it mostly gives me nightmares of playing the actual game. I do love the little the flute solo about 20 seconds in, but the rest of it is just me remembering the pain in my thumb of there's legitimately back and forward just to get your stats up because to cheat the game into giving you good stats. It's ridiculous how many hours I listen to that theme.
Yeah, I put it at number 2 because I think it's one of the best fitting. I think it's the best fitting track in the entire soundtrack. And it is one of the ones I can remember and I can basically just like hum to myself at any time. And the battle themes, traditionally for the series, they're generally very strong. And this is one that doesn't really get old to me necessarily. Like there are some that will, and I mean, if I had to play this like I did Final Fantasy X, where I was 150 hours in, I'd probably be singing a different tune. But for what I played of FF2, I never once got tired of listening to this thing. I thought it was very lively, very motivating, and it's like upbeat and like, all right, let's do this. We're gonna kill these guys. Like we're gonna win this fight. So I think it's great.
My first couple playthroughs of 2, before I finally got around to beating it, I did not really care for the battle theme. I didn't like the vibe that it gave off. It felt like a more bleak, melancholy, desperate battle theme versus something more fun and adventurous like the series eventually became known for. But I think the remastered version did a really good job of making the theme more fun than the original NES version, which is just a really depressing, frantic, like stressful theme. So, but I've come to appreciate both versions and the way the instrumentation plays out. So I've come to like it quite a bit, and it has grown on me over the years.
Anybody else got an opinion?
I ranked this pretty high. I thought, it fits. It does what it sets out to do.
Sweet.
All right, next up on our list,
where are we at in the list?
We have 5 left.
Oh, we're in the top 5.
We're
Oh,
in the
drum
top
roll
5.
or whatever. All right, I'm the rhythm section. That was my job. No!
Oh, Steve, you're fired.
Nah, that's fair.
Actually, you're not fired because you have all the microphones. Never mind.
I'll take my microphones and go home.
Oh, wait. He has all the gear. All right, next up, coming in at number 5, the victory theme.
Wow, this is high up for you guys.
Yeah, I think it's extremely iconic, obviously, and I do think they improved vastly from the first game. This one's got more going on. It's a little bit more fleshed out. This is kind of where the Chocobo theme will become later, where like they had the little victory, the little ditty for the victory, and then now in 2, they're like, okay, let's pump it up just a little bit. And yeah, it's super iconic, works really well, and I dig it.
I ranked it pretty freaking low. It's like the Chocobo theme. I wouldn't listen to it on its own, and this may be my, I guess with FF8, this is probably one of my least favorite versions, especially this remastered version. I guess I don't really remember or know what it sounds like on the NES version, but the xylophone thing that it does, like the doo-doo-doo, I did not dig in this version of the victory theme. Otherwise, it's what it is. It's the victory theme.
Yeah, I ranked it the highest. It's sort of hard when you have those classic themes that reappear in all the games to rank them objectively against the other ones, because you don't want to keep ranking those ones so high and you want to give the new songs a chance. But
right.
It's really good, and so when comparing it to the other ones, I'm like, I have to rank it this high. So that's why I ranked it the way I did. It's great. It's iconic. It's classic.
There's a reason this is the one that kept on getting recycled every game for the same purpose, rather than some of the other ones.
Right.
That's a good point.
All right, top 4. Next up on the list, Pandemonium Castle.
Oh, this one's great. Does anybody rank it low?
Jake looks like he ranked it the lowest out of all of
It
us.
was just didn't tickle my fancy too much. It was in the middle.
Didn't tickle your Final Fantasy too much?
Final Fantasy
Didn't we already
too
make
much.
that joke?
Yeah, probably.
But
Yeah, I think it's a good final dungeon theme. I think it's, it fits well. It's a lot of fun. Once again, I really enjoyed the dual final dungeons of like the Hell final dungeon and the Heaven final dungeon. I thought that was really sick. And I really like the idea of a villain who's so badass that he killed God and Satan and took over heaven and hell simultaneously. Like, for the second game, that's pretty metal. Like, that's a pretty sick final boss. So I had a lot of fun with this.
Well, this is I think my final save is in the area where this piece of music plays, so that's why I remember it so well. And it just like, for me, the soundtrack when I played the game the first time, I remember like, oh, the soundtrack is fine. It's like an FF1, just like a little different. But then it got to Castle Pandemonium, and then this is a super exciting, dramatic piece. I don't know. It's like a heavy version of the Rebel Army theme almost. It's just great. I love it. I love Castle Pandemonium.
Yeah, I have it as number 10. I think it is another memorable one, and I recall the entire Pandemonium section when I hear it. But I don't think it's one that I would really listen to outside of the game necessarily. But I do dig it though. It's good.
I'll put this one pretty high. Energetic, driving. I thought this was a really good song. Get pumped.
All right. Top 3. Next up on the list, Magician's Tower.
Yeah, this is a great one too.
This is a bona fide Final Fantasy classic, one of the best tracks from the game. Just a great piece of music. It's great on a lot of levels. It's got a great melody, but it's also a little bit weird and uncomfortable. It's like really fun Halloween music.
Yeah, it's very cool, evil wizard music, haunted house-ish. Very, very cool, very powerful. I love it.
Yeah, it's almost like a mischievous, like magicians. They're always meddling and shit. I probably ranked it the lowest though. Honestly, I've got it at 15.
Yeah, you did end up ranking it the lowest. This was another one of those songs where I first was introduced to it through the Chocobo Racing soundtrack. So hearing that arrangement of it was my first version of it, and then playing through FF2, like, oh, I remember this song. This one had a great melody, so I've got that nostalgia behind it, but just from a musical level, it's really great.
What I want to know is who told them magicians love harpsichords, because that person was very right.
All right, number 2 on the soundtrack. Probably the most famous new piece of music from the game, the Rebel Army theme.
Oh yeah,
Rolling
it's great.
Down.
Oh,
I did anyone else rank it as low as I did? Probably
No,
not.
you
It's
ranked
number
it the
2.
lowest.
Yeah, so I put it like, I probably put it at like 15 or 18 or something. But like by this point in the soundtrack, I was kind of done with the bad MIDI instrumentation. It was cute at first, but by the time we got here, I was like, ugh, no, like, there's no reason for your instruments to sound this bad at this point in history.
I put that it was a great hero theme, and your shop theme can go to hell for that. Most recognizable theme in the game for me. Very hummable, very exciting. Love it. Put it at number 3.
Yeah, I've got it hitting at number 4. It's once again, it's another one of the most memorable tracks from Final Fantasy II. When it started, I knew exactly where it was going because I have heard it not a ton of times, but I remember it because it's powerful and it's a great song. So, go Rebel Army.
Yeah, my thoughts on this one sort of tie into my opinions on FF2 as a whole, where I've thought about, if you were to adapt a Final Fantasy game into a movie, which one you'd want to do. And there are a lot of people who say, oh, I'd want to adapt 6 or 7, but a lot of those games have too much stuff in it. Versus 2 has a lot of really good ideas you could build upon more and make it into something really special. And so,
Have you seen Star Wars?
well, right, but this, there's a different twist on it. Because with Star Wars, it's, it's one character and his father versus this is 4 orphans, friends growing up together. There's a different dynamic there. It's still the hero's journey. I mean, there's a lot of stories that do the hero's journey. But, going back to what I was saying earlier, if you were to make a film of Final Fantasy II, and this was the main theme of the movie, I would put this up there with like the great film themes of all time. Like with the Superman theme, with the Jurassic Park theme. Like if this was, you know, the main theme for a movie, I would put it right up there with those other great film themes. I think this is just a really, really great theme, and it's just a wonderful piece of music, and I adore it.
Is there a version of it that's fully orchestrated anywhere?
Yeah, there's like some Distant Worlds versions you can find fully orchestrated.
I'll have to look into
But
it.
yeah, I think it's just a fantastic piece of music, and you know, just great, all around great.
What about the rest of you guys?
I already commented.
Did I rank it the highest for me?
Yeah, you ranked as your number one.
Yeah, I think
so.
so.
I guess you liked it.
I think I did like it.
I mean, he did just listen to this an hour ago, so this is all very fresh. A bunch of instrumental music.
Was this the one with that classical guitar sound in it?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember it now. Yeah, that was excellent. I remember.
All right, so I'm gonna run through the list again before we get to number one. So from the bottom up, YouTube Red Ad coming in at the bottom. Add a companion, reunion, opening movie plus sound effects, the Imperial Army theme, the the Schweiss has PTSD theme, the fanfare, the Emperor Revives, Revivification, Waltz, Battle Scene B, Run, Opening Theme, Chocobo Theme, Town, Dungeon, Battle Scene A, Finale, Unused Shop Theme, Ancient Castle, Dead Music, Battle Scene 2, Opening Movie without sound effects, Main Theme, Temptation of the Princess, Battle Scene 1, Victory, Pandemonium Castle, Magician's Tower, the Rebel Army Theme, and, as voted as the best song from the Final Fantasy II soundtrack from this illustrious panel of experts, beating out the Rebel Army theme by 1 point, the Prelude.
Oh, wow. Straight up not a song from FF2.
Take it.
Hey, at least it's not shop theme, guys.
That would be quite the upset.
Am I misremembering? I thought, Steve, didn't you not like this piece of
I
music?
did not like this piece of music, and I did not like it again this time. I mean, it's not
Oh,
my
wow.
bottom 5, but it's my bottom 10.
This, I think, is because the collective opinion of the panel. I think I looked at it rather objectively and like, what are the most classic pieces from the soundtrack, and
Yep,
not
a major
just
scale sure is a classic piece.
yeah, it is. It's simple yet brilliant. And Jake here, who is brand new to the Final Fantasy series, when he was listening to the soundtrack, I saw him digging it. It's like, yeah, this is cool. So clearly there's something to be said about a major scale. Arpeggios. It's just arpeggios. It's simple. And it definitely gets better as it goes along. I think it's missing that melody on top that I think begins in 4 onwards. But as it stands, it's really good. It's simple, but it's really good.
Love it. Hate the shop theme. Love it.
Yeah, FF4 version though, it starts to get really, really good.
Oh yeah. But yeah, that is the FF2 soundtrack. I don't think it's nearly as good as the first game in terms of soundtrack. I think the game is way more fun. I was way more engaged. I loved FF2 playing through it. But it's definitely, as far as albums go, not as good as the first. But I think that's just because the first game has so many bona fide classics. In this one, they're all really solid, but there's less that really jump into the absolute must-have classics of the series. But still a great soundtrack.
Yeah, I agree. Good soundtrack.
Agreed.
So, how did you guys feel about the ranking, other than the high ranking of the shop theme? Did you mostly agree with the rest of it?
Yeah, for the most part.
It's a good overall feeling of it. The shop theme is insane to me, but
This one was strangely swingy in a lot of ways, I think. There were some real surprises in where some things landed. Especially like the fact that the intro movie with or without sound effects was such a gap between the two versions of it.
That is true. The sound effects are painful.
I mean, I ranked them as how likely am I to listen to that track on its own. And the version
Yeah.
with sound effects, I'm likely to not listen to on its own. I might watch the intro movie on YouTube because the intro movie is sick, but I'm not going to listen to the track by itself because that's just bizarre.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever do that again. This is probably the last time I'll ever listen to that by itself before I die. Like, so yeah, that's kind of how I ranked it. It's
So
like,
you're
how
saying
likely
you
am I-
want it played on your deathbed?
Like Joe comes into the hospital, takes out his iPhone, sticks some earbuds into your ears, and then the last thing you hear before you die is the FF2 opening movie theme with sound effects.
Roll the shop, the shop scene or the shop theme kicks in for like half a second, and then I pass. Oh,
I guess someone has to like circus music. Someone has to like it.
I mean, that someone is Steve.
That somebody is Steve.
Steve.
I remember I was driving around one time, and I was listening to Sex Farm by Spinal Tap, and a bolt of lightning landed right in front of my car, and I swerved out of the way to avoid getting hit by lightning. And I thought to myself, I might have died, and the last song I would have been listening to was Sex Farm by Spinal Tap. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with this.
How many near-death experiences do you
This
have?
one time he got stabbed by lightning.
Yeah.
That never happened, but that also sounds like an awesome metal song we should write.
Stabbed by
Yeah.
lightning!
another time that I got shot with a knife.
All right. I've almost died multiple times, but the knife thing was, I was a preteen, and then the lightning bolt thing, that was like 3 years ago driving home from a show in Nashville. So they're completely separate.
All right. I'm sensing something here. I think someone's cursed.
Probably.
All I did was almost drown a couple times as a kid.
A couple
Yeah, a couple
times?
times.
Yeah, I almost drowned a couple times too.
I'm told that when I was like 2, we went wading one time, and I just sort of tripped and fell down and didn't bother getting back up. So Mom had to like rush out and pick me up, and then I almost drowned in a pool when I was like 6.
Oh,
Yeah, as one
Wow.
does.
wow.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Swim. I swam.
Right.
that's the
See,
secret.
this is the rock and roll thing. Is it's you practice not drowning a couple times as a kid, so that
When
you don't drown in your own vomit when you're a rock star.
That's true. I did that with my first car.
Drown in your own
Out of
vomit.
it. One.
Drown your own vomit, yeah.
Yeah, I drowned in my own vomit in the backseat of my car. Like, oh, Scott.
Well,
That's
at
how you
least it
do it.
wasn't someone else's vomit, because there's really no way to dust for vomit.
Yeah, drowning in someone else's vomit just sounds awful.
It's a Cannibal Corpse song, isn't it?
Probably.
It's a cadence I
I thought you
wrote.
could hear the lyrics.
Yeah, or read the the back of it. I'm sure if they do the like crazy letters for the track names, that would be such a pain in the
I
ass.
don't know
You're
if Cannibal Corpse does that.
just lift up the glasses, like what?
Well-
Can't tell if that's a band name or a briar patch.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show. We are the Lipstick Panel, the world's #1 Cannibal Corpse podcast. Thank you so much to our
Yeah.
special guests, Joseph DeGolyer and Kaleb Schweiss. Tell us, gentlemen, where can we find you? Plug your stuff.
You can find us at ultimafinalfantasy.com, or you can check out our shows. They'll be on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Ultima Final Fantasy is our Final Fantasy one, in case you're a fan of that series. But also we have a video game show called Nude Clan, which if you're into crude humor and immature boys talking about video games, then you might find that one entertaining. I also have a Godzilla podcast. If you're into that, it's just called the Godzilla Podcast.
Yep. Tweet me at UFF Podcast.
And tweet me at Joseph DeGolyer.
And we are Lipstick. You can find us at lipstickgeneration.com. Find the Lipstick Panel on iTunes. Find us anywhere on the interwebs. Just look up Lipstick Band and you'll find us. All right, well, that is our show. Thank